Hi, and welcome to Moonbeam Connections. I'm Jackie Lee. Today on Into the Shadows, we are going to pull a shadow card and see what shadow aspect of ourselves that Spirit wants us to start looking at, examining, healing, trying to come to terms with, whatever it is. So let's see what message Spirit has for us today. And I do set the intention that these messages find those who need them when they need them. That doesn't mean that the entire message is for you. It just might be a portion of it that is meant for you. So take what resonates, just leave the rest behind. So let's see what shadow aspect of ourselves Spirit wants us to look at today. And that's a lot of cards. So we shall put them back. So let's see what shadow aspect Spirit wants us to examine. Okay. Well, it fails, start slowing down, right? Oh, and we got 2 cards. So let's see. We've got, conflict freeze. I think we've had that before. And hold your inner child. Oh, interesting. Okay, so conflict freeze is all. So we have flight or fright, right? Most people have heard of those. Fight, flight, or freeze, actually. So fight means something happens, you're ready to fight. Flight means something happens, you're ready to run away. And freeze means something happens and you just sort of freeze in place, right? So you can shut down. It can happen with, fear, feeling guilty or fear of disapproval. Happens a lot, in conflicts where you don't stand up for yourself, and so you're just quiet, or you're in fear of what could happen, so you're just quiet, right? It's sort of where whenever conflict is brought to you, even if you're in the right, you sort of freeze. You don't stand up for yourself. You don't defend your position, or don't even apologize for doing something wrong, right? You kind of get into this freeze mode, and this most of these things, of course, happen because of our childhood trauma. So for whatever reason, this is how you chose to deal with that bad thing that's happening, right? Because the flight, or freeze is all about something bad's happening, right? There's a fire. Do I fight it? Do I flight and run from it? Or do I just freeze and do nothing and not panic? It's not necessarily panicking when you're freezing. Sometimes it's just about, I'm definitely a freezer. So I'll just say, so for me, it was about, growing up, freezing was sort of my only option, in fact, right? I didn't have the ability to fight. If I was going to fight back, it was just going to be thrown at me way worse and 100 times more and never be let down. And if I ran, I was just going to be chased down, right? And so by freezing, that was really the only thing I had to do. And so that's what I tend to do when something major happens, is I just stop and I'm looking around at everything, right? So I'm not panicking. It's not that I'm ever panicking when I'm freezing. I'm just paying attention to everything, understanding where everything is, what everybody's doing, what's going on, and sort of in my head taking it all in and understanding it. And so that's where you can end up. And so funny that I do freeze, and Spirit is saying today, take a look at your conflict freeze and how you just freeze up and you're not willing to stand up for yourself and defend yourself and state your position. And then hold your inner child, right? And of course, most of our trauma, we do get trauma later on in life, but it is set up in our childhood, right? So if you have an awesome, super fantastic, loving childhood, when you have traumas later on in life, those traumas really, not that they aren't bad in the moment, but because you've had this great life, this great childhood, those traumas really don't sink in, right? Yes, it's a bad moment, but now I'll go back to my family and they'll support me and they'll love me. And so you end up getting over that traumatic event. Not that it wouldn't be always there, but it doesn't affect you as much. And they found this out with research into PTSD. Those with traumatic childhoods that didn't have that person they could go to, that person that would love them, that person that would give them a hug, that when they have a traumatic event happen later on in life, it sort of reaffirms that the world's so cold, nothing's ever going to go right. I'm just going to get hurt all the time. and they don't have that safe place to run back to, right? They're kind of out here with their trauma. This was traumatic. Now they've got more trauma, and they've got nowhere to run for that safe place to sort of deal with the trauma and heal from the trauma. And therefore, what in the PTSD research they found is that you're more likely to develop PTSD if you have this traumatic background, because you don't have that safe place to run to. So you sit here dealing with yourself, and it becomes a PTSD moment, whereas people who had that safe childhood, that safe background, that safe place to run back to, when they have a traumatic, they don't develop that PTSD because they have this safe place to go to. It's sort of like, this is an event that happened. The whole world's not like this. But when you've had a traumatic background, this is the whole world. This is what it's like. It's nothing but trauma, 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 trauma. And you're more likely to develop PTSD. So what this is really saying is, all this to get to this, is that, right, we do have this conflict freeze. Supposed to look at it, right? Start maybe developing ways that you can start asserting yourself when you're in conflict. Develop ways where you're not as affected by others when they say something negative, or when they raise their voices, or when they yell at you. And really, it's about holding your inner child, right? So I would say it's about, we need to go to therapy and we need to deal with our childhood trauma. But even what can also help you is just imagining you as a child, you as an adult and you as a child, and imagining you as an adult holding and comforting and being that loving adult that you didn't get when you were a child, right? And so if you start kind of, loving that inner child, I know it sounds kind of corny, right? Like, oh, I'm just going to imagine myself as a kid and give him a hug and it'll be all right. But it's almost like you're sending that love back to yourself when you were a child, and helping to heal that trauma by being like, like, you didn't have an adult there when you needed one, but now I am the adult that you need, and I can help take care of you. So just giving your sort of inner child a loving, safe place. This says reparenting, and that can be, right? It is sort of reparenting yourself, but it's like dealing with your trauma and sort of, how do I say this? Realigning those brain waves, right? So it's not, because when we have trauma as a childhood, you kind of like ingrain those brain waves of this trauma, 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 trauma. And if you go to therapy and you start healing it, instead of always being in this trauma side, you can start looking at it from more of, this is an event that happened, and I can look back on it as, something that happened in my life, but it's not producing that trauma response, right? That fear response. So, Spirit is saying here, what we need to look at is our conflict freeze. Why do we freeze? Why do we sort of shut down when there's a conflict? And start healing your inner child in order to start healing this inner conflict. So let's take a look here and get some advice on how to heal this. Of course, I always say trauma. I always say therapy. You're not going to heal this with more trauma. So you're going to heal this with therapy, or even just going for walks, being out in nature more, doing meditation. I mean, whatever it is for you, dancing, whatever you need, that's what you need. So let's see. Can we get some advice on how to deal with this? What should we be doing? Oh my gosh. Okay, that card is balancing. I've never had a card fall on my arm or anywhere and balance like that before. So, maybe that's it. Finding more balance in your life. Woo! So you maybe need to find some more balance between the work and the play, or the dealing with, your family who maybe had traumatized you, and dealing with the new family in your life that's loving and caring. And what does this say? This is the 8 of Cups, which is all about walking away. So it's about withdrawing, going out in search of something new, abandoning what you already have, leaving it behind. And it can be about like having full cups, but you're just not satisfied with where you are. You're not satisfied with how things are. And so you're walking away from this life, or from this thing, or from this person, in order to find something that is more satisfying, something that will bring more fulfillment. So it can be about, the Eight of Cups can be about like disappointment, feeling abandoned, trying to escape things, right? Leaving things behind and and walking away from them. And so there's your advice here is to leave some things behind and walk away from them. So that could be the spirit's just saying to walk away from, this always have like this mechanism of yours where you just freeze and you don't stand up for yourself. Start walking away from that may have kept you in these full cups, right? By freezing, I was able to keep 8 cups. I know I didn't get to my 10 cups, but at least I was able to keep these 8 cups, right? I was able to keep some semblance of peace in my life, some semblance of order by just being quiet and just taking things. But you're not satisfied with that, because you're keeping some sense of peace, some sense of order, but you want the full 10 cups. You don't want to just, bite your tongue and just go along with it just to make everybody happy and everything go smoother. You want to sort of stand up for yourself and have your needs met and make it to that 10 of cups where you're feeling fully in harmony and fulfilled, and you have a wonderful family life. And of course, our cups are about our feelings. So it can be like just walking away from those past emotional issues that you've had, walking away from that. And that's not just, okay, I'm just going to walk away today and I'm going to completely change. Obviously, you need to take step by step by step by step on your way to walking away. But anyways, so your advice is to sort of look at what no longer serves you in your life and walk away from it. Leave it behind. If it's not bringing you emotional fulfillment, leave it behind. It could be a relationship you're in. It could be, a family member, a parent. It could be friends. It could be a combination. I've got this family member and this friend and this parent, and it could be one person here, one person here, one person here. But I'm walking away from you so that I'm only letting in those loving people. But definitely your advice is start examining your life, looking at what no longer serves you, and be willing to walk away from it, even if it's something like a parent. And of course, it doesn't mean you have to completely cut off, but it may be that right now you have this demanding parent and you have to go every day to see them, or if you go once a week or whatever it is, once a month, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I got to walk away. So I'm going to, I see you currently every day. We're only going to do once a week. I see you once a week. We're only going to do once a month. I see you once a month right now. We're only going to do once every 2 or 3 months, whatever it is. Right? Placing some distance between you and whatever's emotionally draining on you, or whatever's causing you to be in this conflict freeze where you're not actually speaking up for yourself and standing up for yourself and getting what you need, right? You're just sort of standing there and taking it, letting everybody else, sort of giving to everybody else what they need, but never actually getting what you need yourself. And I think, this is what we need. This is what we need for sure, spirit animal. So let's see what spirit animal wants you to have today to understand who you are, who you're becoming. Ooh, my kids are still home. I'm trying to sneak in. They're not supposed to be up yet. I'm doing this reading really early in the morning before they're awake. Try and sneak it in because I have a busy day today, and I just heard something hit the ground out there. So one of them may have woken up. But let's see. So let's get your spirit animal for this reading, please. What message from this deck would you like to give for this reading, please? And I did do a bit of gardening. That's why I'm a little bit beat up here. Trying to make my lawn into a no-mow lawn. So I've been doing a lot of planting and trying to dig out weeds. Trying to reduce my workload. As a single mom, I have a lot on my plate. So here we go. Bison abundance. So it says sacred buffalo. Sacred buffalo, cloak me in your wisdom. Keep me warm through the storm of life. Fill my life with goodness. Teach me the way of gratitude and prayer. Okay, so this is all about sort of being in abundance. But what this card is actually asking is saying, can you cloak me in your wisdom? So can you wrap me in your wisdom? Can you give me your warmth, right? To help me through the storms of life? And can you fill my life with goodness and teach me the ways of gratitude and prayer? So definitely this card is saying, look at the good things in your life. Like, even though you're walking away from some of your cups, look at those cups that you don't want to walk away from, and be grateful for that. Be grateful for what you have in your life, that you want in your life. But also understand, this card is asking for help. This card is asking something outside of yourself, right? Going and asking something outside of yourself to help with their wisdom. Can you give me your wisdom of how, you don't freeze and you hold your inner child, how you walk away from those things that no longer serve you? Can you help to keep me warm through those storms? So I think this card really is saying, like, you need help. This isn't just about doing it all by yourself, right? This is about going outside yourself and seeking that help. So whether you're seeking help from a therapist, or you're seeking out friends, like friends who are helpful, friends that'll help cloak you, friends that'll help support you while you're walking through those storms, right? That'll put that blanket around you and help keep you warm as you're having to traverse your storms. So, and rely on and look to those people in your life who can help you. And it can be many different sources, right? It can be your therapist. It can be your best friend. It can be even that coworker, right? You don't know why people have been placed in your life. And it may be that coworker has very similar experiences, and they can help, oh, this is what I did, or this is my therapist that I saw, or these are the activities that help me, or just having that common, like, yeah, this is what happened to me, and this is what happened to me, and realizing you're not alone. I know I used to, when I was younger, think that nobody could understand, what trauma I had gone through in my childhood. Nobody could see it, for one thing. It was not very apparent. People thought I had a great life growing up from the outside. And so I just felt like nobody will ever know, nobody will ever understand. And I actually currently have a coworker who had a very, very similar childhood to mine. And it's so crazy. I can't believe it. How similar our lives have been, like how similar our childhoods were. And I honestly feel like she was put in my life as my coworker so that we could just talk about it. And and that's what we do. We're just like, yeah, this is what they would say, blah blah blah. And it's so funny as we go back and forth, and it's like, as she's talking, it's like I'm listening to my mother, and as I talk, it's like she's listening to her mother, just because they're so similar. Like, we know what they're gonna say. We know how they're gonna react. We know what they're gonna do. And so just that alone has been very helpful for me. Now, I have gone to therapy and done other things, but just seeing that, oh, wow, there's somebody else who's been through the same thing, and somebody else who gets it and understands, right? And that can be so helpful when you don't feel so isolated and alone, and that nobody could understand, right? I'm just here by myself. Nobody else gets it. Nobody understands. But once you find that person who really does get it, who really does understand, who really does have that empathy from a I was there, been there, done that point of view, it can be absolutely wonderful. So I hope this message helped you today. So this is all to say, start looking at why you freeze in conflicts, and start holding that inner child. Start healing that inner child. Start walking away from those things that no longer serve you, those things that are not helping you on your journey, and start finding those people that will help you, that will walk through the storm, that will sort of provide warmth, give you a blanket and comfort you, and provide that warmth that you need as you go forward. So I'm sending you peace, love, and happiness. Bye for now.